Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Trevor, and if you haven't joined me before, Enlaka Shalakin, as the ancient Maya used to say. And coming to the Maya, that's exactly what we're looking at today. Starting at the beginning, as a child in ancient Mayan times. How do I remember this? Well, from early days, deja vus, from dreams, from visions, and from initiations. Specifically, what Spirit wanted me to know for specific reasons. So I'm going to share some of this not only in this post, but in future posts. And a lot of the information is very different to what archaeologists and scholars teach us. So if you want to know the truth, what I personally experience and not what is in textbooks, please follow my channel. More importantly, at a later point, I'm going to look at prophecies of the ancient Maya and predictions, and how we did this and how I've done this in this life. And I'm going to share some prophecies that are going to affect every single soul on this planet. Everyone around you, everyone you know. No one can escape it. It's huge. So please like and subscribe so the algorithm can bring these posts up onto your page in the future. So firstly, we must know that the Maya were peaceful people. There was almost an unwritten law when you moved in and around the temple complexes. Spiritual ceremonies of all sorts were taking place up in the pyramids, underground in chambers, within the pyramids, within people's private dwellings, everywhere really. And as we know, the Maya took this to the next level. Almost obsessive, almost to the extreme, but how could you blame them, for they knew the truth, for the gods were with them, and the gods were guiding them at some point. And they continued with these traditions for thousands and thousands of years since those times, until the end of the Mayan civilization, through the colonization and of the Spanish and those that came after the Spanish to convert people to Catholicism. So we had a really beautiful religion. It was the ancient Mayan temples of Zen, the Red Path temples, where we were taught to do these things. And for an example, just remembering the past lives is not as easy as what people think looking into the Akashic records. But there are these moments that have come to me, and I certainly don't know everything, only moments here and there. I certainly don't remember everything in this life, so I'm not one of those that profess to know or claim to know everything. But I can certainly explain things, exactly what we did. So this takes me back to the very early days. I think it's when we're young, sort of under the age of 10, that we have this memory and this intuitive or clairvoyant ability that is still natural, and as we get older it starts to fade unless we develop it. And so when the water world opened here, and this was in the 70s or early 80s, I was going on a tube down the, no, it wasn't a water slide, it's almost like a river, into these big blue pools. And as I got to a blue pool, I was standing in this blue pool and the water was spraying around. It was absolutely incredible in the sunlight, and that moment, that vibration, that frequency triggered a deja vu, and I found myself standing in a cenote thousands of years ago, surrounded by Mayan kids as we were playing in the water. And as I looked around again, I became aware of myself in the water park, standing in the pool, slightly confused, as some part of your soul does know what you're seeing, but the personality in this life, you have no memory in this brain, it's more soul function. So it was a little bit confusing, but the memory stuck as if it was my memory of this life. So I never really ever forgot that moment. And there's been quite a few others over the years that have come. Another example, in the 70s, the movie of King Kong came out. I think I did mention this before, and they were chopping people's heads off and rolling them down the step pyramids. And absolutely this is not what we done, but I'm going to show you how we sacrificed, how we chopped off heads, how we removed hearts, the whole sacred initiation. It's absolutely incredible. It was very rare, and it was an absolute privilege for any Mayan to experience. Not everyone went through such an experience, but if you did, you count yourself exceptionally lucky. So also going back in time, sitting next to a stream or looking into a pool of water, crystal clear, organic, and just sitting there staring and gazing, it looks like we're doing nothing, sitting there mindlessly, but far from the truth. So when we were in that natural state of peace, of tranquility, and especially when you were on your own, but not, you could even be with people. So when there's that peace of mind and nothing's bothering you, and you're able to just let go of everything, look into the stream, suddenly you would notice visions with your eyes closed, or even with your eyes open. You could see elementals emerging or coming out of the rocks, these nature spirits. So our clairvoyance, most of the children had this natural clairvoyance. It was something that the Maya possessed. It's something that we still possess in these lives, because we attained a certain level of initiation at that point. So we would stay on that same level each life that we reincarnated, whether those memories came through or not. And so you can imagine sitting next to one of these pools and your thoughts are elevated. In other words, almost an intuitive process where you start receiving thoughts that are not your own. So these are intuitive thoughts that are coming through from a spirit guide or one of the beings from the higher worlds. And if you close your eyes while you receive those thoughts, you start to receive visions. So these visions would really allow us to get insight into our lives, what we needed to know at that time, or something spiritual that was coming up. And each of them sort of followed on a path. They weren't just random visions, although Zen moment visions. In other words, you might have been in such a peaceful state that these visions just flowed almost as if you're watching a television set within your mind, effortlessly, seamlessly. And this is how we came to know things in those lives in particular, and yes, in our future lives. So also around the temple complexes, as a child, I remember we had to do ceremonies from a very young age in the Mayan pyramids. As I said, it was a privilege, and they didn't allow anyone to miss these ceremonies. So in some form or shape, you had to partake in ceremonies. It wasn't forced. Everyone was willing participants. We didn't force a religion on anyone. It was part of our culture. A whole lifestyle, a whole way of life revolved around Mayanism, finding the truth, ceremonies, communicating with the gods, and trying to be like them. So to improve our lives to a higher state from where we were. But if you can imagine the temple grounds, temple complexes painted in red, in amongst the jungle, surrounded by mountains, beautiful, peaceful settings. What a perfect place for this work to take place. As I said in my previous post, there was a war in heaven, so if you didn't watch it, please have a look at it. And when this war took place in heaven, as above so below, so on earth things changed, and the Mayan Empire came to an abrupt end. Ceremonies all around the world, wherever they were taking place, North America through Europe, came to an abrupt end, and at some point Christianity was forced into law. And this is the paradigm we found ourselves in this life. So my earlier memories of being initiated in the ancient temple pyramids, the step pyramids, we had to be ready long before the sun would rise. It's not to say we didn't do ceremonies at other times. We did ceremonies at night, on special occasions, on full moons, on new moons, nearly every single day of the year. There were particular days that we weren't allowed to do anything, no work, no ceremonies. So each day had a purpose. Of the 365 days of the year, each day was designed for something, either to worship the gods, to do healing, to to plant crops. So they had a calendar, and each moment was defined. And people's names were also defined by the time or the day that you were born, or the experiences you found yourself, or your parents found themselves in that moment you were born. So nothing here was really by chance. Everything was worked out mathematically. Everything was calculated according to the movements of the planets. So when we did things, it was already designed that things would work out in an absolutely beautiful, peaceful way, as the ancient Maya did. So you can imagine ceremonying in the top of a pyramid, lying on a slab, and the ancient master is initiating you, and you are shooting through time and space and seeing what needs to be seen. So in other words, in those ancient times, moving all the way to the future and seeing what the future world would hold for us. And this allowed our souls to grow. This allowed the ring pass knot, that expansion of your consciousness, to expand, and to whatever level it's expanded, it would stay or remain like that in future lives. So this also accounts to why certain people are more spiritual than others. It depends on your past lives, your past initiations, what kind of cultures you first grew up in. And we can see these ways are slowly resurfacing in the world. It's almost a revolution that's taking place, and yes, this is a year of revolutions, so expect the unexpected. And so after the ceremony was complete, you would descend down from the pyramid and obviously go look for food, because you would be hungry by that time of the day. So what I normally did, I would sneak around the complex, climb up onto the walls of the temples high up on the roof, and I would find a nice sunny spot, and I would warm up in the sun and just continue with my spiritual thoughts and connecting to the divine. And once I was nicely warmed up, the search for food continued, and we would eat, because we spent many hours ceremonying, and there were many times that we were starving, waiting for that moment that we could eat, and food was quite important, especially if you were young. So, but as I said, I first like to lie on the temple roofs where no one could see me, and just observe everything from that point that was taking place. Absolutely beautiful days that I miss. And that also makes me think, when we look at this society, this point that humanity has got to now, with all the new technology and the space age that is dawning, and the new age, if I had to make a choice, I would still go back to ancient times to live, in particular as a Maya. So I've lived many lives, and the only one to me that would pull me back is being an ancient Maya, living in that peaceful state of mind, and nothing really for me can compare to it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we've got to progress now, and it's off to space in our next lives. So those days are long forgotten, and but they make up who we are, the essence of our soul, when we were first cultivated and first groomed into spiritual truth. And this has lasted and reared its head into many lives, but it's really this life that I've come to the full realization about Mayanism. And if you want to learn more about the Maya, how the Maya lived, and what strange things we did, as I said, please tune in to future posts, like and subscribe. And to all my subscribers so far that have supported me, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this post.
La